Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for our weekly show brought to you by Join Cycling. We've got Liege-Bastogne-Liege, a few notes to tie up from the Ardennes, Tour of the Alps, recap, Turkey, preview, or a couple of stages already happened, an apology from me for missing a very important race, some news from the Giro d'Italia, which begins in about 10 days, as well as transfer rumours, maybe the market heard, Benji. Some journalists heard us complaining. Finally got some rumours. We're going to analyse what Team Movistar should do with their transfers the next few years, as well as Eschborn-Frankfurt and Romandie previews. Where are you, Benji?
I'm in Paris at the moment for an event around the Pro Cycling Manager game, but just chilling, to be honest. And I was like, okay, it's Tuesday morning. Patrick's bored probably. I was like, okay, I need to give this man something to do. So let's talk about the next week of cycling and the past week of cycling. And we've got some stuff to talk about. As you said, starting off with Liege-Bastogne-Liege. I don't have much to say about the men's race anymore. I gotta say, everything was wrapped up in the 20-minute podcast we had about it last week. Not much happened in that race. In the women's race, there's some things we haven't spoken about in the women's podcast that I do want to address because I do feel like it's valuable to do so. First of all, there was a moment in the race. I think it was maybe Côte de Forge, I don't know, maybe, where Royakkers was ahead and a bunch of people were jumping behind her from the group behind. But on the right side of the road, from the perspective of the TV viewer, we see a spectator dude in UAE gear. I checked twice. It was not Tadej Pogacar. I can confirm. Jump on the wheel of Paulina Royakkers. Just so a spectator on his bike jumping into the race in the wheel of Royakkers and just following her and riding with her for a while.
And he wasn't already riding thinking the road was like open. He saw the women coming and like was standing on the side of the road and sprinted out to join them.
I find this incredibly disrespectful to the athletes in the race. It interrupts the race. And is it harsh for me to say that I see this on the same level as spitting on a rider, as physically assaulting? Maybe, I don't know.
It's almost more dangerous. I mean, he literally fought. He pushed another rider off the wheel. He like almost, he was like, no, that's my wheel. So obviously, this person's a rat. And I don't know how do you sanction them? Because it's not like in football. I think La Femme Rouge was tweeting, it's like in pitch invading in football. I think ASO and in France, there are legal ways to go after someone because there's like a legal construct that when the Tour de France is passing over the public roads, the road is actually private.
Really?
Yeah, I maybe I made it up, but I swear I remember it because we went into analyzing how to go after Opiomi woman.
Yeah.
And maybe in France it would be possible, but yeah.
And in Belgium, I know we've spoken about this before, I'm pretty sure, that the spitting guy in E3 on Van der Poel, he got a gasboete, which I feel like is some kind of public nuisance fine. That would fit here as well. I think this is being a public nuisance. You're more than a public nuisance, to be honest. You're interrupting my viewing of LBL. You're interrupting the race for the athletes. So you're being a dick right now for everybody involved. I don't like it. I don't want to see it in the future. I don't know how to stop it. I don't know whether he can be prosecuted for it. But because there's no like physical assault here, I do think that there's very limited, very limited criticism towards him compared to what I believe there should be.
Yeah, I guess just being shamed. I mean, it should be pretty. The thing is, like, they somehow found the person who threw the bid on a Van der Poel, but it should be pretty obvious who this person is. I mean, so
B-Tech Tadej Pogacar.
Yeah. So just find someone that looks like Tadej Pogacar in 2021.
Fair again. Anyway, that was the first topic I wanted to bring up about this race. Secondly, Demi Vollering addressed the reason for her quote-unquote off day. Let's be honest, she still had a very good level in the race, but not necessarily the spiky accelerations that we might have seen a year and a half ago, especially 2 years ago in the Hill Classics, where she destroyed everybody. And she addressed that reason as being her menstruation cycle impacting her performance on the bike, which is something that even we, when we discuss women's cycling, probably don't think about enough, that that's a factor for female cyclists. And I very much respect and actually love the fact that Vollering is so open about discussing such a topic that is often seen as a taboo topic in the sport, but is a major factor for female cyclists. Like, it is a massive fact that some female cyclists, because they have to live such a strict life for being an athlete, they don't, some female cyclists don't even have a menstruation cycle anymore because they're, I don't know how to specify this, but it impacts them that much being an athlete. And that brings me to the point that if you look at men's cycling, there's been so much research into every aspect of men's cycling. With women's cycling, a couple of years ago, the jokes were being made, oh, the sport is 20 years behind men's cycling, blah, blah, blah. In terms of research to women's specific aspects of the sport, I think the sport of women's cycling is behind. And I think that's a fact. Whether it's research on the impacts of menstruation cycles on performance, or as simple as saddle technology for female cyclists. And as a consequence, that's like for pros. The trickle-down effect then hasn't happened either. Because there's so many amateur female cyclists that struggle with saddle soreness, issues like that, that because there's no research at the top, there's definitely no research at the bottom of the pyramid, you know?
Exactly. And this is something, I mean, everyone has a different experience with it. But yeah, I think Demi was saying, like, she was feeling terrible that morning, and you know, you got to go race a monument. So it's yeah, and you don't even know when it's happening. You're just like, oh, Vollering doesn't look so good today, but I mean, she still was good. Like, she still was very impressive. But yeah, it's good that she's open about it. And indeed, that's why I joined cycling last year, partnered with the Martini Hospital and UMCG Obstetrics and Gynecology to advance research in this area to actually understand how hormonal changes and other factors influence female athletic performance. Because, yeah, in that athletic context, there is a dearth of research. And that's why they also introduced the joint period tracker last year to help female athletes actually understand better how it's impacting their training and maybe their suggested training once the algorithm adapts and learns how it's how their menstrual cycle is affecting them. So yeah, if you are a female cyclist, that's one extra benefit or feature of joint cycling that I don't think is really anywhere else that actually adapts to you personally. But yeah, that was LBL Women, just to tie that up. Tour of the Alps was actually one of the best races of the year in terms of excitement every day. They had a similar sort of stage every day with a steep climb 10 Ks from the finish with a descent. And first day, Ciccone won a reduced group sprint. G and Tiberi looked bad. Tiberi abandoned before the Giro, so he was obviously sick. Then the next day, Stora attacked and took 40 seconds on GC, whilst Felix Gall and Seixas closed each other. They tried the 1-2, but they 1-2'd each other, and then Stora went away. Frigo went solo to win his first pro race on stage 3. That was always coming, winning in that style. He nearly won in the Giro before like that. And then on stage 4, Arensman went on a long solo. Stora ran out of teammates, and then Stora just dropped everyone else on GC and lost the jersey, but by a good amount. He lost it by only 10, 15 seconds.
Exactly, but like that race really exploded the race for me. That was the moment where this Tour of the Alps went from a generic Tour of the Alps to being one of the better races of the year for me, because when that race opened up, it was 80 kilometers to go or something, and I don't know every detail of how the race exploded at that time. It looked like some second-tier GC riders who had lost some time attacked early on that climb, tried to split open the race, including Arensman, including the likes of Derek G, who was also prominent in that stage. That happened. And then somehow, some GC riders tried to follow, and maybe they got stuck in some kind of second group, then waited on their teammates who kind of got dropped on the climb. So they're not going to have the major power they need to then control an Arensman afterwards. Arensman then has a gap of 3-4 minutes. G then is dropped by Arensman. It's like a a 1v1 versus a group that also splits into 1-1-1-1-1. Like, I'm sorry, but it reminded me of, I know it's not the same, but it reminded me of that stage, Castelfidardo stage from Tirreno, where Mathieu van der Poel, Pogacar, Wout van Aert, and so we're all like riding individually and chasing each other's down on like a 50-kilometer like solo stretch, you know?
Yeah, it was a great stage. Like the Trek exploded it, and then just carnage. We don't exactly know what happened earlier, but yeah, it was fantastic. The GC was Arensman riding away with it. What was Stora going to do? Could Caruso and Ciccone come back? And then the next day, it was a shooter absolute masterclass. They put Ericsson in the breakaway, and then Stora attacked early. There was a long flat valley, and Stora dropped Arensman, and then the satellite rider on the flat, Ericsson's quite strong, just ripped the gap open, and there was nothing Arensman could do. And so Stora is one of these guys who, if he had the same Palmares and maybe a different passport, started on a different team, not, like a flashier team, he would probably be earning 3 times the amount of money and would be, he's not so different to Lenny Martinez, honestly. And Lenny Martinez, I'm pretty sure, gets paid a lot more than Michael Stora. So he's very underrated, and like his year this year.
I agree, but I do want to add the difference between Lenny Martinez and Stora is that Stora had that middle phase. After he had his, was it Sunweb days where he won 2 Vuelta stages and KOM?
Yeah, in 21.
After that, there was a phase of, okay, nothing's happening.
Yeah.
And Lenny Martinez hasn't had that phase yet. That makes sense?
Yeah, he was on FDJ for a couple of years working for Lenny. So, seriously. So, on Shooter, he's found a home, and he's performing. Yeah, he won a stage apparently. He's easily in the breakaway, came 5th on GC there, 4th on the Nice stage. And he's going really, really well. So we'll see. Probably in the Giro, he'll go for a top 10. And right now, top 10, I mean, they'll probably be hoping for more than that, frankly. Yeah. In last year, he already came 10th. So they'll probably be going for top 5. TT's a bit of a problem, but
7th.
Yeah, what do you think about the other GC guys for the Giro you saw in this Tour of the Alps, Benji?
Well, first, we got to highlight Paul Sischa. Like, Prudhomme ended up winning the final stage. Sischa gifted the stage to Prudhomme. Prudhomme himself was pretty strong on the stage as well, to be honest. But it is quite a bar from Sischa after the stage where he's like, I'm confident enough that I'm going to improve and get even better and might win consistently as a consequence. I'm quoting that in my own manner, so it's not the direct quote. While with Prudhomme, he's at a good level, but there's still a bit of a risk because he's an older rider, etc. Which is fine to say that. And that's why he decided to gift it to Prudhomme, despite the team car not necessarily... Well, the team car basically said victories for Paul Sischa, and Paul Sischa said no. And we got to remember, Sischa's like, 19? Super talented. Like, I am extremely
18.
Curious where this will go, because Sischa dropped completely on that one stage. Was it stage 3? No, 4.
Stage 4 when there was the Arensman raid.
But outside of that, he was climbing on the level of Felix Gall. And he can descend better, and he's got a sprint in a smaller group. So if they can get that consistency out, then they might have their future GC rider in Paul Sischa. It's looking like it right now. But we can't expect that from a 19-year-old yet. So we're now building up and seeing what he can do in the next race and the race after that. But extremely promising. Is it fair to say generational French talent?
Generational talent.
Yeah, but a generational talent is a talent that comes once every generation, no?
True. But yeah, Seychelles, like Lenny was proposed as the future Tour de France winner. Lenny's a really a nice rider, but he has obviously big limitations because of his size. Seychelles is much more realistic to be that guy because he's the junior TT world champion. He is explosive, he can sprint, he can descend very well. And yeah, he's only 18 years old. Okay, maybe he's had a big training volume already, so he is actually a 21, 22-year-old, but he's still more of the complete package than Lenny. And yeah, Decathlon, like we said in their transfer, what we said they should do, it's about putting riders around him for the future so that when he is 22, 23, in 4 years, 5 years, they have a stacked Tour de France ready GC team. Because also, future planning, Pogacar in 5 years, pray to God, is declining and or retired or whatever, or just other people have improved.
I'm not wishing that for Pogacar, but in the grand scheme of things, I'd like the level to be a bit closer with a lot of people in the sport in a couple of years, because I like a battle for victories. That being said, you're right about the Seychelles thing. It's also about bridging the gap towards that 21-year age, as in Decathlon needs to find a way to keep getting results GC-wise for the next 2 years until Seychelles grows up, in that sense. But anyway, Tour of the Alps, very good race, lots of stuff. Race. Very promising when it comes to certain riders. Like
Aronsman.
To me, Aronsman is never going to be a podium candidate for the Giro. The time trial does add to him, but there's something about Aronsman that doesn't shout consistency to me. Is that weird?
I think he's consistently within his ceiling and floor to me. And
yes.
The problem is Finestra. Yeah. I mean, he's good on the longer climbs. Maybe that'll help. But probably on Tagliacozzo, the short uphill finish on stage 6 or something, he'll probably lose 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is he's going to lose time to, even to Barry there, I would say. So if Taberry's in good shape. So maybe he's been 6th in the Giro twice on Ineos. He'll be hoping for Is G doing the Giro? No, he's doing the Tour.
Doing the Tour.
I think they'll be shooting for podium, but that'll be tricky, I think.
I think so too. Anyway, Tour of Turkey. Our favorite race.
First day, actually, no free ads, but I was watching some of the stage yesterday, and Cass, where they rode through before the sprint, I was like, this looks nice. Sun. It's like the opposite of watching the Ardennes Classics. I was like, I would go there on a Mediterranean holiday.
Hey, I've been to Tour of Antalya and Tour of Istanbul. Antalya was beautiful. Istanbul was a bit too city-like, because after a race, you got to consider, after a race, you're in like a huge, like, Istanbul is one of the only, I think is the only place in the entire world where 2 continents are literally in the same city. Because you take one bridge from one continent to the other. There's so many people there. That city is huge. There's a race in there, which means that once that race ends, all the riders need to find their way back to the hotel through Istanbul traffic. It takes 4 hours after a race to get the riders back to the hotel. Everybody's fucked in super hot conditions. I think Tour of Turkey and Antalya is probably better in that way, because it's more spread across the country.
Well, yeah, hey, it's southwest.
Do you feel like the race has improved in terms of the way we see it from a safety perspective? Because back in the day, this was next to Tour of Poland, Vuelta a Burgos as some of the most dangerous races in the world. Yeah,
that Buhani crash, he tried to sue the organizers, I think, because basically he was borderline permanently disabled or had his career ended by that crash. And I don't think he was successful, actually. So, which was a shame. But the first sprint, I didn't see any glaring safety issues. The parcours, and it was the case where I saw one rider, maybe Peñalva. I remember I put it in our group chat. Was it Peñalva?
Yes, Manuel Peñalva.
Disgraceful move. Disgraceful. I don't know if he got a yellow card. He should be suspended for it. He nearly crashed the whole bunch at 65 kilometers an hour, riding like an absolute idiot. And he was on the left of the bunch. It was getting too much wind. And then he's like, I'm going to go to the right side train, and just fully swung and nearly chopped the guy at 60. So anyway, De Geer's won the first sprint, his first pro win with a lead out from Ricard. Del Grosso, another Alpecini youngster, won the uphill kicker on stage 2. I was surprised to see Christoph dropped on both stages. He really isn't climbing as well as on the second stage, not climbing as well as I thought. And Del Grosso won that easily. Today's like a punchy hill stage where maybe Del Grosso survives. Yeah. Maybe the GC guys go for it on a short climb near the finish. So then there's a steep finish as well. I think who's the GC favorites?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Harold Lopez, Wout Poels, cool set. I
how many like Astana boys are going to do LRCP? We both know it. It's going to be Harold, Martin Lopez, and so forth. Frank van den Broek also did well in Turkey, no? A few years ago.
He won this last year.
See, my memory is not terrible. But I do want to mention, like, I think I've been commenting on the Simon de Haer storyline when it comes to Alpecin a few times in the past, where it felt like they were giving him so many chances. Race on race on race on race. And his problem to me sounded like he's a pure sprinter. Like I'm talking pure sprinter.
He's an old school style sprinter, yeah.
Like getting over hills, etc. Trouble for the Hares is what I perceive from him. And then I started questioning, okay, in the modern era of cycling, is it worth to have so many opportunities for a rider like him in so many races? Now, he does win at Tour of Turkey. That's a good ending to that story. I like seeing him win that because that gives Alpecin the confidence that they might have done the right thing by giving him all these opportunities. Because I've heard stories from within Alpecin that the Hares has some of the best watts in World Tour cycling. But at the end of the day, you got to get to the sprint to do that, and you got to get to the sprint with energy to do that. And that has been seemingly his problem in multiple races. That being said, he's won his first race now. Same for Del Grosso now, first race victory of the year. He's been close a few times already. He's going to get close a few times again. He's been called baby Mathieu van der Poel, whatever. At the end of the day, he's super talented. I can't wait to see what he does. I do think the cyclocross world is saying, please don't break out yet because we want you to do CX a couple more years. But it's looking good for him.
On the Hares, he's got to improve if he wants to be a proper World Tour sprinter, he has to improve his threshold.
Yeah.
Like, he cannot get over a highway. Yesterday, he got dropped from the Turkish club team Gruppetto. And these climbs weren't that hard. He got put on 10 minutes by, like, all due respect, like amateur Turkish riders on like a 5% climbs. And
the Hares the new Maresko? Because Maresko now is better at climbing than before.
Yeah, maybe. But I'm sure his sprint is great. But even if he loses a bit of his snap, he's never going to make it round a Tirreno Adriatico, let alone a Grand Tour like this. So he has to improve that. But as an actual flat sprinter, he's very, very good. Of course.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to seeing. Yeah, I mean, probably Picnic, and not looking forward to seeing Astana taking more points, because why don't we talk about the relegation battle a little bit now, Benji? There was an article that came out, I think, with Benson, Matt Winston, DS, one of the most senior DS at Picnic, said we're not putting pressure on the riders regarding relegation. I think that's good in a way, not to make them start panicking. But if Picnic don't change their programming and start to focus on points farming, then that's borderline negligent. You can't say when you lose your license at the end of the year, we tried everything. That's when people get fired. The two Lotto guys, right? Got fired. So Frank Van den Broek's on the wrong schedule. He obviously, like, if you put Frank Van den Broek on Trofeo de la Guelia, on hilly one-day races on the minor calendar, that boy will farm points. And probably it's the better calendar for him. Why is he doing Volta Catalunya?
True.
What is he going to do there? He can't win the sprints. He can't compete in GC. So what's the point?
So it's not just the pressure on the riders. The scheduling needs to change.
Yeah, it has to.
Because right now, especially after LBL, the fact that, was it Velasco that got fourth in LBL, scored 440?
440 points.
Then 15 from Ulysses, then 15 from another rider, 5 from another rider. That's roughly 500 UCI points, maybe 475 that Astana got in just LBL. They're now like roughly 1,000 points behind.
Yes.
If I recall, DSM, well, Picnic Postinel.
With 6 months of racing left.
Yeah, so trouble. Now Grand Tours are coming, but there's also trouble in town with some injuries at Picnic Postinel. So you gotta be more playing to the ball. Is that a correct football term? I don't know. You gotta play to the ball, and otherwise you're doomed. And right now the situation for Picnic Postinel looks doomed. In like politics, you've got those like I don't know what I'm trying to say. Those like polls or likelihoods of a certain
Yeah.
When there's like American elections, you've got like there's so much chance that this state is going there or something.
Yeah.
Right now, I've got a 20% chance that Picnic Postonnel, maybe less.
So they're like Wyoming going to the Republicans. Yes. It's like it's Astana are staying up. It's done. They're staying. I mean,
would you say it's a fight against Cofidis and Intermarché then for Picnic?
I think one tier will be fine because they will be scoring on the Belgian. Like once you get Bini on that August, whatever these races are, Circuit de Wallonie schedule, like
Belgian ChatGPT races, buddy.
They start getting the points. Yeah, the real Belgian ChatGPT races. I think it's between Cofidis and Picnic right now, and Cofidis, they will farm points. They will be on the French minor calendar. Aaron Baru looks really good. So,
talking about farming, nothing to do with farming, but I have to call you out. You've been cancelled. There were angry comments on the last weekly show, and I think they are right. We discuss all these top races, every single Belgian ChatGPT race, but we forgot to discuss the Giro d'Abruzzo, my friend.
Giro d'Abruzzo. I apologize to the fans of Giro d'Abruzzo. I apologize to Jörg Zimmermann. Did he win his first stage race? I apologize to his management, Corso Sports, his family, to Callejas, to Petra-like, and to the dreams of Pablo Torres. I apologize to all of them because, I forgot about Giro d'Abruzzo, I must admit. Anyway, it's actually nice to... What was shocking to me, I was like, where's Astana? But the Astana, they were in the Ardennes. But yeah, there was one uphill GC day. There was like some punchy sprints. Covey won the first stage and he's gone and won twice in Asturias. Ivo Oliveira won his first race in quite a while. He was very emotional afterwards. And then Callejas is like a young rider on Petra-like, and he surprised everybody winning the uphill finish. The mountaintop finish solo, it's kind of crazy. And then Oliveira won and beat
Q36.5 rider?
Sherd Bax, who used to be sent by UAE when he was on them to these races. And then, Oliveira rolled him. Jörg Zimmermann won GC ahead of David de la Cruz and Torres.
The interest in that voice when you mentioned the results. Okay, Giro d'Abruzzo to the side. We've done our duties. Next up, we've got some news to talk about, and the first.
The irony is, I watched every stage. That's the I still watched every finish.
I don't watch a single kilometer of Giro d'Abruzzo. I won't even lie.
I like it. It's a nice race.
Giro d'Italia news. Very small news, but we'll talk about it. First of all, some adaptations in the stages, which this happens at the Giro quite a lot in the run up to the actual finalized stages. Nothing too important. A couple of kilometers here or there added to stages. One stage had a kilometer added at the end to make sure it's not a descent finish. So that's a very good change in my opinion. That's probably because it was brought up by someone, maybe CPA. I don't know. I don't want to give credit if I don't know who gave it. But it's good that has been addressed. So that is news point number one. News point number two, this morning I opened up Twitter and I'm like, holy shit, Giro d'Italia introduces the Red Bull kilometer. And I'm like, oh my God. Did they just rob the golden kilometer from the... Was it a Belgium tour was the first, or did it come from the Ineco tour first, the Bingo Bongo tour?
I think Bingo Bongo.
Anyway, either way, they didn't steal it. The Red Bull kilometer is a banner, a Red Bull banner, then a kilometer, then another Red Bull banner. And the first three people that pass the second Red Bull banner get 6, 4, and 2 bonus seconds. So the way I see it is, this is just an intermediate sprint.
Every year I have to refresh myself with the Giro intermediate sprints because one's for bonies, one's for Ciclamino points. Both are for the Inter-Giro. Are they still doing the Inter-Giro competition? The intermediate sprint competition for like Vini Fantini and co. But yeah, 6:42. That's a lot of seconds, I guess. So,
like, it's a marketing gimmick. I do like it because it's money into the sport, and it's gonna give some attention to Red Bull, so they're probably gonna get some return there. But at the end of the day, with the way I read it, it's only gonna be added to stage 19 and 21, or
No,
Did I
no,
read that
19
correctly?
of 21 stages. All the stages
Oh.
except the TTs.
That's a lot better.
So there's
That makes a
nearly
lot more
2
sense.
minutes. Nearly 2 minutes of intermediates, maximum of 114 seconds you could gain off these intermediate sprints if you were so inclined. I hope the worst thing they could do is place these far from the finish.
Yeah.
Um,
Because then the break will take it every time.
yeah, then it's just a point, and it's just a waste of time. So
Top of the last climb, halfway
Yeah.
up the last climb.
Yeah.
That's what I find interesting.
well, that's why I mean ASO has got the jump on RCS the last few years in that these uphill intermediate sprints that they've had in the tour have created more action
And
like-
drama.
and
On Juplan.
drama. Juplan. Then when top of Pertus last year, but I'm even thinking Jalibier.
Jalibier.
Haiskabel. The Haiskabel, stage 2 of 23, Pogacar and Vingegaard and Simon Yates sprinting, and then that creates separation, and then there's GC guys attacking each other. So I hope they're not just on the flat in the middle of the stage, because then it's pointless. Okay. Are you feeling the hype? By the way, for the Giro, we're going to Albania in what, a week?
Woo. Yep.
10 days, 9 days.
Next Wednesday, maybe?
Yeah.
I should check so I don't miss my flight. Anyway, that should be fun. The Giro d'Italia, if you didn't know, starts in Albania. So that's why we're going to Albania. We're not just going to Albania for fun and watching a Giro that starts in Italy. The Giro actually starts in Albania. And that should be fun. We're going to do in-person podcasts again like we did last year. Anything else planned? Do we do little vlog, etc.? Or we'll figure that out in the days before. We don't want to promise anything, but we're going to deliver something, right?
Benji's going to get scammed, and we're going to try to get his money back.
Mate, the last time I paid 36 euros for a Coke in Budapest. But then again, I met my wife there. So it was worth the 36 euros. Not that it had anything to do with the cola.
You bought your wife 36 euros.
That's not what I said.
That's crazy.
Anyway, next topic.
Because they have a different currency there. Is it the lek?
Forint was in Hungary. Or do you mean Albania?
In Albania, it's the Albanian lek, and we're gonna try not get.
No, I'm not getting scammed. The last few times I've gone to races, got scammed for a Coke in Budapest.
And then
My editor got abducted for 2 hours
in Istanbul.
He literally got abducted, eh? Like, we're talking, he gets into a cab, a 20-minute drive. This person says, oh, we got to go the way around because Fenerbahce is playing in Istanbul. Fenerbahce was playing that evening on the other side of Turkey. And instead of taking a longer route, you know what he does, the driver? We're going to have to take the ferry. Taking a ferry across the river from Asia to Europe. He was gone for 2 hours. And then by the time he was there, I was like, let's go to the hotel again.
Happens to the best of us.
What a day.
Okie dokie. All right, that's the Giro news. If you're in Albania, we'll see you there. And
Yes.
I can't wait to watch, especially the TT will be nice in the city.
Buddy, can you hear it? The sirens are going. We were shouting for it last episode. The transfers are coming. The transfers are coming. Liege Benoit rumored to go to the Decathlon AG Tour according to Wheeler Flits. That's the first Visma. Not surprising that a Visma related transfer leaks in Wheeler Flits. That seems to happen every year these days. But multiple sources have apparently reported that. If you don't know Benoit, first of all, 31 years old. I don't know why I'm explaining who Benoit is, but top of rider. Actually had a really good season. 16 RVV, top 15 at the Hill Classics, maybe top 4 because of the situation he was in the group ahead in Dwars of Vlaanderen and stuff like that. So consistent classic season. My question is, how much of the results that Benoit has gotten in this classic season is because he's part of Visma Lease Bike with a multi-leader strategy with Jorgensen and Wout van Aert? In Dwars of Vlaanderen, that's the case in my opinion. Versus, can he replicate such a result if he goes to a team like the Decathlon AG Tour where he's leader for the classics? To the point that I believe that I don't expect him to compete for a classics victory at the Decathlon if he goes there, but I do see him potentially winning a Grand Tour stage.
I think it's sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. So if you're Benoit and you want to anticipate, sometimes that's harder to do if you're on Visma than if you're in a decathlon jersey. If you want to anticipate in Omloop or Brabants or Dwars Duur and you're in a decathlon jersey, it might be a little bit easier than if you're on Visma. On the other hand, you're right, Benji. It's a lot if you have strong riders up the road on your team, you can sit in the wheels. That also helps if you're Benoit. And that helped, for example, in the Ardennes in Liège, Tullet, when the race was really on Redoute, and after the Redoute phase, Tullet was there represented, and Benoit's coming back, and then he actually finished ahead of Tullet. So, but then again, it's not like Tish Benoit had 6 riders helping him save energy all day in the Ardennes. Benoit was getting his own bidons.
But then,
I'm not saying he's going to go and win, but if you at decathlon, there's we're going to do everything that he gets top 5. I think it's realistic in some races.
Potentially, it's also for me that you got to look at the transfer in the context of what a rider potentially might cost. When I think of Tish Benoit, let's just start there. That's not a rider that's going to be on 300K. That's a rider that's most likely expecting a salary somewhere around 7 figures. And if it's 7 figures, then what do you want in return are the results that Benoit has gotten at Visma this year enough to say this rider deserves 7 figures, versus he hasn't consistently been able to deliver that over the last few years.
Benoit is okay. He's not a big winner, but there's a lot of riders when you look at the Tour of Flanders, and then if you go through who's out of contract, and then how much are the riders being paid around him in those results, it's a lot of money, and probably there is a bias towards Matthias Vacek is the new flashy classics guy. In 2026, is Matthias Vacek going to be a better all-round classics rider than Tish Benoit?
And also, I'm wrong. He's been consistent over the last couple of years.
And he has to, for half of his race days every year, he's full-on domestique.
True.
In the Tour and the Dauphiné. So,
although this year, I didn't see much domestique wear from
No, not yet. But I mean in terms of points farming. If you took Benoit and he had a rest now, and then he went and farmed, no Tour de France, and went and farmed all those Belgian ChatGPT races and Renewy Tour, and then at Italy, he could score 2,500 UCI points every year.
And he also brings experience for the likes of Paul Sechat, which is then that other story. They potentially bridge 1 to 2 years of consistent results in certain races to fill up for a gap that Sechat might not be able to deliver. So it actually addresses some of the things we were talking about last week.
He's literally won the Tour de France as a domestique in the last 2 years.
That being said, I believe he can win a Tour de France stage.
From the break,
A Grand Tour stage from the break. Tour de France is difficult. But
Tour de France is tricky because the breakaway is not allowed to win anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
He's he could be good in week 1. It's he could against Van der Poel and Pogačar or Mur de Bretagne. It's a bit complicated.
Pierre Moos won a Mur de Bretagne in similar fashion that you'd want the Benoit to win by attacking early, and nobody else was like, let's follow him.
True. But it's definitely it is an interesting part of the transfer market. 31. Versus then other options like Vacek. Maybe the bias towards the young riders, you overestimate what they might do versus, Benoit, I saw some ridiculous statistic. He's been top 15 in the last 20 editions of Amstel / Liège that he's done.
I've got a question. We've seen modern cycling change a lot. We've seen cycling change a lot over the last 10 years. Whether it's speeds, whether it's the way the peloton rides, whether it's tactics in certain ways. I feel like cycling's changed quite a bit in the last 10 years. A first point that my wife actually brought up a couple of days ago while we were on a walk, she was like, when the speeds are higher, does it not make it more logical that, first of all, riders have more trouble technique-wise to riders that had trouble in the peloton when they started 10 years ago might have been able to adapt more easily than now with the higher speeds. But I want to bring it to Tige Benoit for a second, and just the topic of experience. Is experience in the sport worth less than it was 5 years ago? Because the sport has changed so much over the last 5 years.
I think that's what people think. Mm-hmm. And in the Ardennes, it does seem very young when you look at the top 10. But then I look at the Tour of Flanders top 10, and it's...
what are you going to say, old people?
It's guys that have been doing these classics for 5 years. Yep. It's Davide Ballerini's 10th. Yep. Like Kung, Benoit, Sturven, Van Aert, Van der Poel, Pedersen, Pogacar. These are, apart from Pogacar...
Riders that know themselves better?
Yeah, the average age there is 30. Yep. More or less. And so it depends. I think the Cobble Classics, really, experience matters a lot. Maybe the Ardennes, you have to be able to just... You got to be able to do 2 minutes of these watts per kilo and be super explosive.
And I also feel the effect of like experience in RVV, for example, specifically. It's not just experience with the race itself. I mentioned it earlier. It's also experience with yourself. Because youngsters are much more likely to go a bit too hard and explode in RVV than they are in LBL, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at Luca Mazzari. He paced himself and came second last year.
Yep.
Okay, but yeah.
Where were we?
Transfer rumors. What other ones are there?
Piganzoli is rumored to go to Visma Lab. So Piganzoli is a rider that I've actually followed for quite a while because, fun story. Back in the day, 2021, Pro Cycling Manager was playing a cycling video game with Eolo Cometa. And I was like, which rider should I sign? And I looked at like the dev team of Eolo Cometa. Saw two riders with talent. Davide Piganzoli. I think he was like 18 back in the day. Then next to him, Tercero, signed both those riders, and Piganzoli helped me win a Giro d'Italia in the virtual Pro Cycling Manager world with Fortunato as my leader. Piganzoli was a domestique, so that's where my love for Davide Piganzoli started. But he's a rider that has been riding for that same structure for a while now. He went from the dev team of Cometa in 2021. That was then Cometa U23, then joined as a trainee at the end of the season to Eolo Cometa. The weird thing to me is that he did have the step back in 2022. I don't know the story there. He went from the pro team of Eolo Cometa back to the club team U23 and then back to the pro team of Eolo Cometa. Maybe a roster reason in the team. I don't understand why. And then obviously the team changed to Polti Cometa, and now he would be rumored to go to Visma Lease bike. But it's that type of rider where I swear we've spoken about him before, and it didn't just start last year. I think he had a surprising like okay result in, was it Il Lombardia 2022, like top 30 or something, or consistent top 30s in the Italian classics, and like that on top of I think he maybe top 5 Avenir. Am I inventing that?
Yeah, he was third at Tour de l'Avenir, but he was older than the other riders in 2023. So he was third behind Del Toro and Pellizzari. I think they're like a year younger than him.
Yeah,
but they were all reasonably young at the time. They're 2003 and he's 2002.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's in Italy. It's interesting to me. There's two big GC talents at the moment in the youngsters. It's Pellizzari and Piganzoli. And Lorenzo Finn, but he's a couple of years younger. And Pellizzari is way more hyped. And that makes sense. But yeah, he's literally nearly winning Giro break stages, mountain stages on Bardiani.
Yeah.
As a 20-year-old, he also beat Piganzoli in the baby Giro. So they've kind of had similar rises, both on respective pro teams, and then obviously Piganzoli will make the step up somewhere next year, or maybe because I think he already extended one extra year at Polti.
Yeah.
Because he gets like last year. And you look at Tour of the Alps, and it's interesting that, because it's a different way of developing as opposed to going to a diva. At Tour of the Alps, they literally have 6 guys riding full gas for Piganzoli GC.
Yeah.
Like, he's learning how to ride a full GC there. They have the whole, and Polti has older guys, experienced guys, the Bice brothers, they're all around Piganzoli.
I'm not having this. I'm not having this discussion, Patrick. You were talking about Tour of the Alps, whole team riding for. Have you seen what race he rode after Tour of the Alps? Also for GC, the Giro. He got 13 in the Giro riding for GC, and I think that's the reason we don't have the hype. He was focusing on GC, while Pellizzari was the breakaway trying to win a stage, you know? And I think that's the dynamic where if you ride for GC, you're just not that visible compared to a guy that's fighting for the breakaway every day. And quality-wise, he probably could have fought for a potential stage win in a breakaway. He might have been in a breakaway, I'm pretty sure, in week 3. Maybe, I'm going to look for it. Stage 15. He was in the breakaway to Livigno, the stage won by Tadej Pogacar. Just like most of the stage of the Giro last year. But he's a good rider. He's a good climber. Question marks for me are, is he all-round enough to be a GC rider? That's the same question I have about Pellizzari and every single Italian that makes it as a GC rider prospect at the moment.
Yeah, like Ciccone.
For me, there's that limit on every Italian talent that shows up at the moment. And I haven't seen Picanzoli cross that limit yet. I don't know what he can do in a time trial. I don't expect
CT's
him...
cracked.
Cracked?
Yeah.
Really?
He's a good time trial rider, yeah. To me,
That
the problem...
matters.
Pellizzari and him are the opposite. Pellizzari, climbing level, is better. Look at him in Catalunya. He was a domestique and he still finished top 10 on Montserrat. And then Roglic was like, probably said, this kid has to go to the Giro. We're not doing any Vuelta with him. He's my best climbing domestique. Pellizzari climbing level is better. Can't TT. And he's like tall and gangly, kind of reminds you of Koos. Whereas Piganzoli's second to Derek G in that Camino TT. But the pure climbing level is not there yet, like a Pellizzari. He hasn't had those like in Tour of the Alps, you're getting dropped. So that's the trade-off. But yeah, it's interesting to see these two. I mean, Italian Tiberi's there, but Italy needs a few more riders coming through. But it will be interesting to see where he does end up. But yeah, thank you to the transfer market for giving us some rumors. That being said, we're still going to do Movistar. Movistar have Enrique Mas out of contract. I think with the money coming in, let's just get, that's the biggest chess piece on the board, Benji. They're keeping Enrique.
They have to. It's Enrique Mas.
It's Enrique Mas. He's Spanish. He's podiumed the Vuelta, like 5 times. And he's only 30 years old. He's still at a good level. And if you don't know the news, I think, what's it?
I have no clue what you're about to say. No,
the guy that bought 41% of the shares in Abaca Sports. I'm trying to find the article.
Israeli billionaire.
Here we go. It's Quantum Pacific. I think maybe we already did the news, but just to remind you.
We didn't.
Abaca Sports, which is like the management company of Movistar, has had 43% of the shares purchased by Quantum Pacific. Kind of reminds me of the James Bond movie Quantum of Solace. And Quantum Pacific.
Because of the word quantum.
Yeah. Quantum, and also because what does that mean? It's like, well, it just sounds like...
We could go into that, but I think that's another podcast, my friend.
So but Quantum Pacific have interest in Atletico Madrid already, the football team, and they are looking them up.
They were great back in the day.
They are owned by Idan Ofer, who's an Israeli billionaire.
Yeah.
So he invested also in the Portugal's Premier League, Famalicão Football Club, and he's got 17 billion. So Movistar come to play. I mean, if you want to... You
say that, someone buying shares does not automatically give the team more money, right?
No, it will. That's the idea.
Indirectly.
They'll have some sort of sponsorship agreement.
Okay.
There'll be money coming in. It's like with Red Bull into Bora.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they buy the shares, but it's about also money coming in, and now maybe we see Movistar a big budget team now. I mean, we've got Little Trek and Decathlon joined the big boys, and now maybe you have Movistar, and they needed to because they were falling behind, and now they can extend Enrique. I think the writing on the wall for me was also last year when they gave long-term contracts to Ivan Romeo and Carlos Canal and Javier Romo, they extended all of them to 2028. And I was like, excuse me? Where'd you get the security to do that? And maybe this is related to that. But yeah, so they got money. Now, so Enric Benji, we keep him.
Yes, we keep him.
Okay. Nairo, he's got to go. We don't need to keep Movistar that happy anymore because we got the extra money from Quantum. So Nairo's out.
Gaviria out and to be replaced by another sprinter.
And that's, to me, they have to get a sprinter. Like, and a proper one.
Who's available?
Olaf Koy, Lund Anderson. Why shouldn't Movistar go for Koy?
A Dutch rider on a Spanish team sounds like
with no lead out. It's his dream.
Like, unironically, there's always been a German on Movistar. Now Hessmann has rejoined, etc. Like, imagine Bauhaus joining Movistar. I don't think he's on the market.
No, I think he's extended, yeah.
But that's the kind of thing where that would fit, you know?
They need some sort of sprinter that can just, because Movistar don't win. Like, they last year they won.
Get Max Conter back.
Yeah, last year they won 8. They won 8 races. This year, maybe doing a little bit better. They won 5 races, and they did win a World Tour stage with Romo. But yeah, they just don't win enough. And even though they are a good team, and they need a sprinter.
Kokar?
No. I mean, someone to win.
You want to turn another stage? I'm pretty sure, buddy. Come on, give him some credit.
Yeah,
there's literally Welsford. Is that like, or is he too limited right now?
Why not Welsford? Problem is, he's going to have 0 lead out. So is he going to win there?
And are the conversations in the bus going to be like O'Connor in decathlon? Welsford, can he speak Spanish? He's lived in Andorra for a bit. That's Catalonian, no?
I don't think Welsford speaks Spanish, but I don't think that's a big problem.
You can fucking learn it.
Yeah.
Spanish wombat.
I think the reality is they're going to get like a misc sprinter like Malucelli, and he's not going to win much, but he'll be like competitive in some sprints, and it won't be any different.
I would like Malucelli actually, because at least he gets consistent results. Or am I inventing that?
Malucelli's a better sprinter than Gaviria right now.
Yes.
So yeah.
Is Vendrame not a Movistar transfer?
Oh, don't.
I wouldn't, but I think it is.
Vendrame is the classic like lack of ball knowledge signing.
He's won 2 Giro stages, buddy. Come on.
Like, it's the Giro break sort of versatile sprinter, but not really a sprinter. I know he won that Tirreno stage, but it was shit. He might give you nothing for 2 years.
Michael Matthews.
I keep saying this.
Every team needs a Michael Matthews.
Decathlon needs bling, and Movistar need bling.
Jayco too.
But they think they have bling in Ivan Garcia Cortina.
Wow. Yeah.
Came top 10 in Tour of Flanders, actually.
Ivan Garcia Cortina is Matthews from not even AliExpress. That would be an insult to Matthews.
He's Mercadona Matthews.
What is that Dino supermarket in Spain?
No idea. Mercadona.
Super Dino. He's Super Dino Matthews.
Yeah, they need a guy like that. So yeah, I would say Lund Anderson could be if they can't. But I think the reality is they'll sign like a 30-year-old journeyman sprinter like Malucelli. Yep. Oliveira's retiring, even though he's still good. Guerrero, obviously they'll have to let him go, but they should. Pedrero is 33, probably. Yeah.
Haven't seen his, like, the last time I saw Pedrero do well was the Giro of 2019 or 18, the one Carapaz won.
Yeah, or like he had a Tour of the Alps or something. I don't know. Did you have a bad crash on the descent? He's going well. Will Bard is out of contract. Jorge Arcas and Albert Torres, they're 30, 35 and 32 with Arcas. Maybe they keep
Torres
him as like
Barta as well.
Yeah, Bard is still decent. Bard is still decent. And he's like sub 30, does his job.
Yeah,
but they need some.
I was about to ask you the question, what do they need?
Just some better riders. Just some better riders.
Thank you for your ball knowledge, my friend.
Yeah,
they need a sprinter to replace Gaviria. We said that already. On top of that, they've got Mas for, let's say, 2-3 years, roughly, is the lifespan of a Mas from this point onwards.
Yeah,
I'd say 2 to be safe. Looking at that, you've got Roma and Romeo stepping up. How can you support them best? And in addition to that, how can you make this a more winning team across the board? Because you can't just depend on your replacement sprinter for Gaviria or your GC rider in Mas, Romeo and Romo. Movistar is still a team to me that in Grand Tours might have to go into breakaways. Or Romo and Romeo, those guys right now. Probably.
They're going to go for GC, probably, like they did in the UAE tour. But yeah, maybe I think they should go for Riccitello because he can go to the Giro, maybe go for a stage, no pressure. Yeah, like I said, Lund Anderson.
Jesus, Herrera is still alive. Not a good season, though.
They got to boost their classics a little bit since they lost Jorgensen. It's rumored that they'll have a Devo team. Don't they need Benoit Cosnefroy?
They need a good Benoit Cosnefroy.
The last French to Movistar rider worked out well. Cavagna, so why not get take a risk on Lafay or Cosnefroy? They need like a since they lost Aaron Baru, they need a puncher like that.
Get Benjamin Thomas to replace Oliveira.
Respect Nelson Oliveira. Nelson Oliveira, better versatile ruler than fucking half the peloton, honestly. In Basque Country, there was a super hard stage. He was still there after this wall. I was like, what are you doing there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they got to take a risk on Cosnefroy. Maybe Catania Benji as like a domestique helper for Enric in the Vuelta. Could be good.
Imagine if they get like an actual classics rider.
Yes.
Like
who?
Stuyven.
Stefan Kung.
Stefan Kung would actually be like that guy,
yeah.
You know?
Stefan Kung would work. The problem is if
they need Matthews. I'll keep repeating what you say.
Yeah. They need Bling, and like then they can send Bling to the right pro. Then Bling can do Catalunya again. Then Bling can do like Basque Country sprints and Catalunya and Vuelta sprints. So if Bling would work really, really well at that team.
Roger Adria?
He's Spanish, of course, but again, he's kind of pricey, and it's not solving their winning problem.
Agree. Juanpe does need to solve his winning problem. Getting him is a win.
Exactly.
You don't buy him, he buys you.
But what? So yeah, we can say they want the classics riders, they need sprinters. The reality is that Movistar want to focus on GC.
Yeah.
And I think they need more GC talents, Benji, because they've lost Torres. They don't have Pericas. They don't have a Seixas. They don't have those young GC talents coming through from what I can see. Like
I also see the issue right now. Like if you look at Movistar as a team, where do their signings come from? Their signings come from buying up riders that are the likes of Karen Pharma, rider breaking through, Burgos rider breaking through, which was Serrano back in the day. Like from the pro teams from Spain. Sure, that's a pipeline for talent. But I think their biggest problem is that they don't have a super visible pipeline for talent before those pro teams. Like, the fact that UAE, they obviously have more money right now, UAE, and Machin is great at finding the Spanish babies that have talent. But Movistar needs a way to captivate the development pipeline in Spain better before pro teams.
Because it costs more money. Like when you sign Pablo Castrillo from Kern Pharma after 2 Vuelta stages, it costs more money.
Yeah.
So
Why no money? Is that what?
They can't do that anymore. So yeah, you can't keep losing these Spanish Ayuso, Perecas, Torres. We said it before to UAE and to Ineos. I mean, there's Benjamin Noval coming up. If you don't have a Devo team,
Yeah.
where are you going to put Benjamin Noval? Because I think the history shows even Ayuso did 6 months of U23. The young talents should do U23. Brennan still did a year of U23. Remco said he should have done a year of U23 or 6 months. So,
can I be honest? It is really, 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 really confusing for me as someone who lived through the era of Astana, Saxo Bank, Sungard, and Tinkoff, where Benjamin Noval was a domestique. The father of Benjamin Noval, that they both have the same name.
wait, is he? So he is Benjamin Noval Jr.
Well, I don't know if Junior is added to his name. On PCS, it's just Benjamin Noval, but his dad is also Benjamin Noval.
Yeah.
I think Benjamin's a great name, don't get me wrong.
It's crazy.
I wouldn't name my son Benjamin.
Yeah. Anyway, he's 16. He's like mega hyped, big GC prospect apparently in Spain, and they can't keep losing these guys. Even if he doesn't turn into the next Poggi or Contador or Ayuso, there's a 20% chance he is good. If they don't have a Devo structure and don't get Noval, and then he goes into another structure like Carlos Rodriguez, they tried to get Carlos Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And they couldn't in the end. These riders stay at the same team. So that's probably, overall their biggest thing that Movistar needs to do is create a development structure. And also I think, unfortunately, one or two of these Spanish pro teams are going to fold because they're not going to be eligible for the Vuelta invites because they're not going to finish in the top 30 of the ranking. And then that's going to cause, that's obviously big problems for them. Okay, any last words on Movistar's transfers, Benji? I think just be more ruthless with some of the older guys.
Yeah, ruthless with older guys. Fix your development pipeline, because those are the two biggest things.
Don't sign. They do with Guerrero. Don't sign Van Drave.
Yeah,
like they do with Ruben Guerrero. It's not worked. Don't sign. Avoid that sort of rider.
Let's blitz through these race previews because I'm hungry and it's almost 12:10 in the afternoon. So my stomach is growling. We've got Eschborn-Frankfurt coming up in the next week and a half. Or should we start with Tour de Romandie? Because that's
just do Frankfurt. It's a versatile sprint race, World Tour race. It's optional for teams to attend because it's newly added to the calendar. It was won by Van Gils last year.
Yeah.
It's got like a climb, 30K from the finish. Can be an open race, can be a big group sprint. Depends on the riders there. And Van Gils is back. Aramburú is there farming. Astana have got Turnison there and Henok and Velasco. And I'm going to go with Simone Velasco. He goes 3 places better than Liege and he wins the small group. He wins a sprint of 25 riders.
Patrick, I just saw you tweet "Don't start" in response to La Flamme Rouge mentioning that the Colle del Finestre stage in the Giro is already at risk.
He needs to stop. So apparently, the La Flamme Rouge, which always has good Italian notices, says there's 50 centimeters of snow at the summit of Colle della Finestra. The stage is at risk and it's cold up there. They're not there for a month. I'm not starting. They go over 2,000 meters once in the whole race. Venny's already he's already shaking. Adam Hansen's already, in fact, no, that would be too early for him to lobby that the stage should be shortened.
Someone abduct Adam.
Adam Hansen's he's drafting it now, and he'll just be like, I'll keep this. I'll just give it to Venue on the morning of Finestra. That's...
Anyway, back to business. Tour de Romandie.
I can't deal with Giro stage amendments already. Frankfurt, who are you going with? Thibaut Nice?
For GC.
It's a one-day race, man.
He's going to be... Oh, Eschborn-Frankfurt. I forgot we were doing Eschborn-Frankfurt. Thibaut Nice? No, I'm not going to do Thibaut Nice. And I also can't seem to load the start list. So I'm going to go for...
Aramburú, pick Aramburú. He was second last year.
No, I'm not having this shit. I am going for Rick Plymers.
Oh, that's a good pick. That's a good pick. He won Muscat Classic, which is a very similar race, actually. Tour de Romandie, 2 TTs in a 6-day stage race. Incredible stuff. They have the opening prologue, very technical with a little hill in it this afternoon. Then stage 1, there's some versatile sprint stages. Some are quite hard, actually, and they use the same wall twice. I don't know why these Swiss races, like they either use Villars-sur-Olon or they use the same walls a couple of times. There's even a stage 3 is like a uphill sprint. The big GC stage, road stage, is Tion 2000, which they've used a few years. It's where Geraint Thomas crashed with in the cold, so it can be bad weather up there. In the name suggests it goes over 2,000 meters. And then stage 5 is a rolling time trial. I'm going with Jay Vine. He's going to clean everyone on the stage 5 TT, but he's shackled to Almeida for the rest of the race. And I think Almeida wins on Tion and wins GC. And although actually Remco, Vine v Remco for the final CT should be interesting. Brennan's here for the versatile sprint stages in the prologue against, I don't even know what sprinters are here.
Bro, does it matter? Brennan's going to clean him up anyway.
I think the bigger problem is bringing it to a sprint because some of those stages are quite hard and Visma's team is not so strong. So
that is true. I'm going to be boring. I'm going to copy Joao Almeida because I truly believe he's going to win GC here. I think this race might be slightly too early for them to pull GC-wise.
Yeah.
The time trials there, it's not the craziest parkour either, but Tion 2000 is a proper climb.
Yeah, it's a big boy climb.
So yeah, Almeida wins. He's been very good this year, and I'd like to see that continue into Romandie because I'd like to keep advocating that he should have been starting the Giro next to Ayuso to give us some more fun in the race. But that being said, should be a good race, and I look forward to. So we're not doing daily recaps for this one. We're doing a post-race recap of the whole race.
Yep, and then we'll have the preview of the women's Vuelta a España Femenina, which begins on Sunday in Barcelona, I think, or near there with the team time trial, and all the big guns will be there, of course. But yeah, otherwise we won't have the Romandie dailies. There's also, but yeah, it's not so much racing at the moment until the women's Vuelta with just Romandie, so that's not too bad. Okay, I hope you enjoyed LRCP Weekly. Benji's gonna go and have some lunch. I'm gonna...
Crotte monsieur.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'm gonna have beans.
Fuck that.
Just
ciao.
Beans and rice. Ciao, ciao.